The ship that sinks the fastest is a partnership.
Yeah. Hey guys, before we start, drop a like, follow, and subscribe.
Coming in hard. Welcome to CEO Confessionals, business talk for entrepreneurs, real estate wholesalers, investors, and lenders. From beginners to rising starts to moguls. This is CEO Confessionals with Thomas Heil. CEOs confessing their highs and lows, telling you what it takes to be on top.
Hey guys, welcome to CEO Confessionals. I'm Thomas Heil, and today's guest is Lee West from West Richards Properties, based in Houston, Texas. Lee, thanks for coming out, man.
Hey, man, thanks for the opportunity to join you today, Thomas. Really appreciate the opportunity, my brother.
All right, Lee, man, it's great. I really appreciate your time. One of the things I definitely want to ask you is what led you to become an entrepreneur?
Oh, man, great question. So it's very simple, man. I really just wanted to take control of my life, right? Take control of my destiny, wherever it may lead to. I was working in a corporate career, was doing well, worked for a large accounting firm here in Houston, doing some nerdy stuff with numbers, right? Did it for 5 years. And the good thing about working for a large accounting firm is just like a law firm, right? So it's very easy to kind of see what the next step looks like. You can see what your next 10, 15, 20 years is going to look like in a corporate job. And the people that were 10, 15, 20 years, I'd have some really personal conversations with them. And, after those conversations, I realized that just for me personal, right? Just for me and what I wanted to achieve in life, I wanted to take control of my destiny, and I didn't want to leave my destiny up to some bigger organization that I didn't know where the decisions were coming from. And I just needed, more control of my life. So very simple. And here we are, man. Almost 4 years later in real estate, brother.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me, what really led you to be an entrepreneur? Because most people that are in the corporate world, and I'm assuming you also have a college degree that went to a corporate job. Tell me a little bit about, was there any earlier stages in your life that motivated you to go in this direction? Or was it just, I just want to get out?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I've always been addicted to like success, right? Success, watching high level CEOs of some of the biggest companies throughout the US and throughout the world. I love reading people's biographies, right? And just wondering, like, what I realize is that we're all human, right? But what makes people have that superhuman um, characteristic that brings them to just this crazy level of success, right? Even though we're all human, we all have red blood going through our bodies, but what makes them different? What makes their mindset different, right?
Yeah.
And for me, growing up, there wasn't a lot of entrepreneurs in my family. I grew up, a lot of the people in my family, was that, hey, get a job, right? Go get a
Yeah.
job, work hard, work your way up, be the best you could be successful in that job. Don't take it for granted. Retire, get your pension, get your 401k, your retirement account, and you're good, right? Work your 20, 30 years at a company and retire, and you have a nice little nest egg to live on and have your retirement account. So didn't have a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, but I do have one uncle. He's actually a real estate developer. So very early on, probably when I was around, if I could think about the age, I was probably 18, 19. I actually went to go do a little internship at his company for the summer. And he had a real estate development company out of Atlanta. And so that sparked it for me, right? That sparked it for me, like, wow, right? Like I can do this. And I'll never forget, I remember he had me kind of, running errands for him and stuff. And he actually gave me a check. And I can't remember the exact amount, but I think this check was like 30 or 40 grand, right? He was just like, it
Wow.
came in the mail. He was like, hey, go deposit this check, nephew. Right. I'm looking at this check. I'm like, holy shit, I'd never seen that amount on a check before. And he had me go deposit it at the bank. Right. So, but I fell in the trap. I'm going to be honest with you. Right. I fell in the trap. I went to college and, you know, started having student loan debt. Right.
Okay.
And I think in society, student loan debt can be a trap for a lot of people. Sometimes you don't know what you're capable of or what you can do when you have this debt that's just like hanging over your shoulders, right? You just like, hey, I got to make money, right? I can't take the risk of being an entrepreneur and having my own business right now because I got to pay these student loans off. So, I went to college, then I went to grad school, finished grad school. So finished 4 years, and then I did grad school. I went full on in grad school as a 2-year program. I actually finished it in 1 year.
Oh,
Started January, finished in December, doubled up on credits. The real estate, not the real estate, but the academic advisors like, this is your first year of grad school. Don't start with this many hours. I think full time is 9 hours in a normal semester, and I started with 15 hours. I just I wanted to get done so I can make some
yeah.
money. And yeah, so that's how I landed in a corporate career, man. And then after that, I realized hey, I didn't want to get stuck here. So I lived below my means. I saved, and I was able to have a little bit of a nest egg, so I can take that risk and give myself enough runway to try to see a little bit of success in this business.
So that's very difficult for a lot of people that went to university. They got a job, they're making great money, and to leave that position, especially in a big accounting firm that you came from,
Absolutely.
people fall into that. It's like, okay, start out as an associate, then you level up to manager, then you level up to senior manager, then to partner or vice president or director,
That's right.
whatever it is. And the salary is pretty substantial as you go up. Um, during during your time when you were at the corporate job, were you paying down your student debt, or were you moving forward, or you just paying off the minimum?
While I was still working at the accounting firm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I did, I actually got on the Dave Ramsey plan. I was already
Okay.
pretty good with my finances, man. I've always been a frugal person, right?
Yeah.
I actually get that from my mom. My mom was a very frugal person. She used to take me to garage sales with her on the weekends. She always would shop sales. She's also one of the people that got me into numbers, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell people all the time, she would go to let's say a Dillard's outlet, right? Go shopping for clothes, and they'll have uh, you know let's just say it'd be 50% off plus take an additional 30%
Yeah.
off, and she would actually have me calculate the total before it rang up at the cashier, right? So
Uh-huh.
I always could know, okay, are they taking advantage of making sure you're saving every penny? So she would challenge me to make those calculations in my head, and that's why I'm so good with numbers today. um, but yeah, man, working at PwC. um, I gave out the name of the company, but
Yeah.
it's all good. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I've been gone for 4 years, but it was a big four accounting firm, right? It's one of the top
Yeah.
accounting firms in the nation. And uh, I started off, but I had these student loans, so I just knew I did not. What I wanted to do is I wanted to give myself options. So whether I decided to stay in corporate accounting or go somewhere else or become an entrepreneur, at the end of the day, you can't have freedom if you have too much debt over your head,
Yeah.
right? Especially when it's consumer debt. Now, when it comes to using debt to leverage, it's going to make money. Obviously, in real estate, we do that all the time, right? But
Uh-huh.
what is consumer debt that's not giving you an ROI, right? When you have that hanging over your head, so you really can't think of anything else, right? So for me to be able to have that, um, the space in my head to be able to think about what I wanted to do next, I knew that I had to get out of debt. I had to get out of debt. So I put together a plan. I started doing it on my own and just kind of paying down as much as I could. And then I really started to get serious with the Dave Ramsey plan. And every bonus I was getting from the accounting firm, when I would get a bonus, it would literally pass through my bank account. And then the next day, I was on NailNet. That was the service provider for my
Yeah.
student loans. I was on their website and I was paying it, $5,000, $2,000, $1,000, however much. I was just throwing money at the debt. And I think when it's all said and done, I actually have the schedule still saved to one of my drives today of every payment I made for all of my debt, for my student loans, my credit card. So I think all in all, between my student loans, my credit card debt, my car at the time, I ended up paying about $50,000, $60,000 in student
Yeah.
loan debt off in about, it took me right at 3.5 years. So yeah.
I find that pretty interesting. I was in the same scenario. I couldn't get loans from school for some whatever reason,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to go on crazy debt. So I did a hack. Actually, I pretty much went through my entire university on credit cards,
Nice.
and whenever there was a 0% balance transfer
You
for the next
transferred it
18 months, I transferred it. So I
until you
did that for
graduated.
yeah, I did that for about
Yeah.
4.5 years and completely wiped out my college debt after I graduated within 3.5 years.
That's awesome.
and that was all on credit
That's
card.
awesome.
It's about eighty
That's
thousand
awesome.
dollars. I just wiped
Hey,
out.
okay. So thinking
Yeah.
outside the box, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. But imagine, right? Like we're talking about, right? Like, it's not for everybody, right? Because
Yeah.
I'll tell people too, right? Like at this, sometimes people just say, just pay off your debt. You do have to have some sort of good income, right? Because you do have to have some sort of good income, but you also have to have the discipline to live below your means. And when you get that money is not yours, right? You gotta send it off and have that discipline of making those payments and paying down your debt, and you will get through it, but it's not easy, right? When a lot of my friends that was at the accounting firm with me, they were buying literally my peers, right?
Yeah.
So my peers were buying, $350,000 townhouse in the city, right?
Okay.
And they had new cars, right? New BMWs, new Audis, new Jeeps, whatever. And I bought my house up on the north side of town in 2015. I paid $115,000 for it,
Yeah.
and I had to catch the metro bus into the office every day. People thought like, dude, why would you live so far away? And that's because I had a vision, right? I had a plan. I'm like, I do not want to get trapped with the golden handcuffs, is what they call it in corporate America. The golden handcuffs, where it's basically where you're paid such a good amount that you're not willing to sacrifice that to go chase your dreams, right? It's that golden handcuff syndrome, and I did not want to get caught in that. So that's what I did, and I'm glad, and I make that decision 10 times over.
I could completely relate with that. I was in that same position where I had the handcuffs on, and like, should I leave or not? And I just took that dive. Uh, One of the things that you definitely highlighted is discipline. So when it comes down to discipline,
Mm.
your mother or background where you came from, did that instill your discipline, or did it happen a little bit later on in life?
Like the discipline of money.
Money, your life, how you are, who you are, what led you to become disciplined?
Oh man. I would definitely say I think it goes back to my family, right? I'd be lying to you if I say it's all because I read these books and self development and all this, because a lot of times you don't even know the impressions that are made to you, even as an adult. You don't know those experiences that you've gone through as a child and how much it's changed your mindset as an adult. You just think, oh, I'm growing up, I'm getting more mature, but not realizing like there were seeds that were planted while you were a
Huh?
kid and as you were growing up, and as you're maturing, right? And so everything comes back to my family, man. I didn't grow up rich, but I did grow up middle class, right? I was a dead middle class, and went to good schools. I was originally born in Compton, California. I
Okay.
was born and raised out there, lived out there for 10 years. My dad was an aerospace engineer, and my mom worked in HR, right? So my dad was definitely A type. Me and my dad typically talked about three or four things, right? We talked about cars, we talked about money, and we talked about houses, right? That was like the three things like we talked about all the time. Like those are like that was our topic, and money was like one of them. So my dad was beating in my head about assets and investing and creating a legacy. And
Uh-huh.
my mom, through her example, with her personality, taking me to the garage sales, teaching me how to bargain, right? Negotiate. Like just because there's a price on here does not mean that's the final price, right? So if these baseball cards you want to buy, are $5,
Yeah.
go see if they'll take two, right? And those negotiations, I mean, I was doing that in elementary school and junior high. So, and the fact that you're asking me this is kind of making me like really think about like, man, it's crazy to think about how some of this stuff started and probably how it's part of my personality today. But yeah, discipline with my parents. Blue collar, my dad was a very, very hardworking man. He worked very long hours, and my mom was the one who, took us to all our games and the practices. But my dad was working, man. He was grinding. And just seeing that every day is a permanent stamp on my brain about hard work. You know what I mean? And just the discipline that, as a man, you have to be disciplined. As a man, you have to take care of your family by any means necessary. And even though I don't have a family yet, that discipline, that same discipline I have now is the same discipline I'm going to have, with my future family as well. So definitely my family. And I can go on and on with other family members. I've got uncles who have been successful and they live below their means, man. They're not flashy. I used to think like, oh, when I get all this money, I'm gonna be like this, but there's beauty in kind of being that silent killer, man. So, not having everybody know exactly what you're doing or how successful you are. So, I definitely keep that in the back of my mind.
Yeah, one of the things that really resonates, like habits. I'm not
Yeah,
sure about you, but I've seen guys that when I was growing up were kids, they had habits, and those habits kind of translate to their adult life as well.
100%.
I knew guys that were lazy growing up, and guess what? They're great
Lazy now.
lazy
That's
adults.
right. That's right.
And a lot of it just comes down to that individual of who they are and when or if they ever even had a wake up call. But I see that pattern along amongst a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people in life in general. But one common trait that I do notice from a lot of very successful entrepreneurs is what you hit on the bargain is that discipline, that
Absolutely.
self discipline. One of the
100%.
things that we talk about, and especially in entrepreneurship, as an entrepreneur, motivation. I'm not
Mm.
sure about you. I'm a firm believer motivation comes from within. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I do agree. I mean, there are people out here that are very successful.
Yeah.
To each his own, right? Some people get motivation because they want to impress people that they hate, right? They want to impress their ex that broke up with them 10 years ago and they want to be successful and be like, F you, right? You should have broken up with me, right? So, a lot of times when you think about motivation, typically people are motivated by pain or pleasure, right? So for me, my motivation comes from within. You know, unfortunately, my parents are no longer here. A lot of people don't know that. I tend to be a pretty private person, but both of my parents are actually deceased, right? Both of my parents were deceased by the time I was 30. So, my mom was deceased when I was 22. She passed away when I was 22 when I graduated from the year I graduated from college. So, and I saw her suffer. I saw her suffer from her battle with cancer. So I had to grow up quick, right? Like there was no plan B, bro. It's only a plan A. Like I got to figure this shit out. And then when my dad passed away in 2018, that's when it just kind of solidified it. Like, dude, you're a man, right? You're a man. You got to figure this stuff out. So, absolutely, absolutely, man. So, for me, my motivation comes from within, right? I really want to have, a legacy, and above all things, I'm just an ambitious guy. I really live with that mindset of, I do not want to leave this world without any regret, right? I don't want to be 70, 80 years old or whatever, however old I am when I'm on my deathbed and just thinking, man, I could have done more. Right. And I listen to that because we were, every day we have our sales meeting with our guy. And, one of them was watching a Kobe video, right, for Kobe Bryant. And that was one of the things he mentioned. He was like, people were wondering, like, dude, why did you give up so much, to this game? He said, at the end of the day, I did not want to look back on my life or my career, my legacy, and think to myself, I could have done more. So that's a personal thing for me. So that's all I care about is just reaching my full potential. And I don't know what that is, but I'm trying to find out. Every day I'm trying to figure out like how far can I take this? How successful, can I actually be? So yeah, man, that's what drives
So,
me.
at what point did you have that realization,
Of
like what you
of being
want to do?
motivated.
Like looking back, it's like, no, I have to do this, or else I'm going to regret it.
Yeah, man. Man, I don't know if I could. I don't know if there's a specific time that I could pinpoint, but man,
Uh-huh.
I've always wanted to be successful. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what this looked like. If you'd have asked me 10 years ago, um, I probably would have said something in real estate, but doing what I am now, being in this beautiful office and all this, like I had visions of this. Like I literally, like when I was working at the accounting firm, we had a beautiful office in downtown, marble floors everywhere, Herculite glass, which is like one of the most expensive glasses you can install in a corporate office space.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I visioned like having my own company, and I was like, man, I want to have glass like that in my office, right? And I want to see Westrich's properties on it, right? Or whatever the name of our company, just on glass, like walking through glass doors. And it's like, we have that now, right? And it's like, one of the things about ambition is like, once you reach a level, you think that, okay, when I get here, all right, man, I'm going to be cool. But then once you get there, it's like, okay, I want to do more. So, it's good for us to self-reflect. So I don't know. I wish I could tell you that time, but I think there was probably a seed planted in me from a very, very early stage. My dad was really big on being successful, and he was super ambitious and had all these things that he was doing. So I know a lot of that came from my dad as well, and my family, right? Just pushing me to just be our absolute best. And I think when it comes to legacy and family, it's the goal of the next generation to take it to the next level. So I feel that responsibility that my dad and my parents came from, New Orleans, Louisiana, in a small town of Ponchatoula, Louisiana, from nothing, and were able to get to where they are and allow me to be, and allow me to kind of hand the baton for me to go even further. So I feel that responsibility with them. So absolutely.
Uh, you touch base actually on success. What is your definition of success? What is success to you?
Man, that's a great question. I truly, if you'd have asked me this years ago, I would have say success is based on how much money you have in your bank account,
Uh-huh.
right? How much, your material possessions, how big your house is, your cars. But being a business owner and just growing, becoming a better person, better human being, I would definitely say for me, success is really based on how many lives I can impact.
Yeah.
I know that sounds cliche, but when you look at some of the most successful people in the world, they're successful because they've either changed the world, made
Right.
other people's lives easier, more convenient, or they've just a social impact, right? When you think about Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened? He connected people all over the world that weren't connected before, right?
Yeah.
Made things easy. Jeff Bezos, Amazon, right? What did he do? He made everyday life easier for people. You
Yeah.
don't have to go to the store to shop for things. You literally can get it next day, same day, within 2 hours on Amazon Prime, right? So that's when I look at the most successful people, it's based on the amount of lives they impact. And so, with that formula, I know that if I do that, if I focus on sharing my experiences, which I don't always do the best of because I'm always grinding, and I know you're the same way, but man, just sharing more of my experiences and content so I can just, help, even if it's just one person, right? But we help a lot of people in our business. And, there's a lot of people who've been impacted by us. And I'm very grateful for that. And I definitely have that sense of responsibility um, to help even more people, man. So absolutely. That's what success looks like for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's like a success is something more than the monetary or the financials. It's like for me, it's all about impacting people.
That's it.
How much impact and how much of a legacy that I could leave behind on that person. I had a great mentor when I was younger, and he really changed my outlook on life. And this happened when I was 22. It made me see the world in a different way. And I still talk to him today. It's been nearly 20 years. He's my college professor, Robert Callen, great guy,
Wow.
huge
Wow.
impact on my life. He didn't
That's
think
awesome.
nothing of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you tell him that too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
He probably was tickle pink, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Got to give people their roses while they can still smell them, man.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Another thing I want to talk about is like West Richards. You're growing this company. What is your goals to accomplish for West Richards?
Oh man, great question. I think it comes back to my personal goals, right?
Mhm.
Help as many people as we can. Like we really, Kirk and I know my partner Kirk.
Yeah.
We've been best friends since 2007, right? So we're like been best friends for like 14 years, man. And so we have a lot of trust, right? We trust each other. We're literally brothers, right? We just don't share the same blood. Um, for us, in order for our business to get to the level that we want it to get to and that we see it getting to, we have to be the best leaders and we have to develop leaders. So our goal is to develop leaders in this business,
Yeah.
and that's going to allow us to reach every goal that we have set for this company. But if we are unable to um, continue to grow and continue to be the best leaders that we can be, we will not reach our goals. So we've narrowed it down to that one thing, right? That one thing, all this other noise about what you can do in business and reaching these goals and all these different things, that's great. But if we ever want to step back from this business and fire ourselves from these different positions and fire ourselves from these different roles, then we have to get damn good at being some really good leaders who trust us to help guide them to reach the goals that they have set for themselves and just trusting us. And so that's what I know for sure in terms of goals for West Richards Properties, for Kirk and I to be the best leaders that we can, develop our people, develop them to become leaders. And through all that, we're going to reach all the goals that we have set for ourselves in our company.
So it's interesting. One of the things they on unwritten rule is like, don't ever be business partners with your family or your best friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like an unwritten rule.
True, true.
How are you guys able to make that work?
Oh man, that's a great question, man. I'll never forget. There's like this saying out there. I don't know if you've heard it before, but they said, um, the let me think of this saying. The ship that I think it's the ship that sinks the fastest is a partnership,
Yeah.
right? So, for Kirk and I, man, at the end of the day, right, I would say for us, it was tremendous trust, right? We didn't start this business um, super formal,
Yeah.
right? We had shared goals. We had been friends. We had the same mindset of what we wanted to achieve and what we wanted our lives to look like, right? And it's true, you cannot be in business with everybody, right? So, I always say, do your due diligence. The good thing about Kirk and I, we started this business in 2017. We have been friends since 2007. So we had 10 years to date each other, right? In terms of our friendship, because you're not friends with anybody you don't like, right? Or you're not friends with anybody you don't trust. And so for me, we've been friends since college through our corporate careers and everything. But it was a little bit different there, right? So this is not just a random thing we decided to do. We talked about it. We spent some time talking about it.
Yeah.
We studied. We read a lot of books. YouTube University. And for us, I think at the end of the day, it was just really trust and loyalty. And we had the same vision. And we, as our business, through the ebbs and flows and the tough times we had early on and some of the dips we've had in recent years, and going through 2020 and getting through all that shit, the craziness of deals we've had this year and all the title issues we had and bottleneck deals and money just flying out of the account, right? And your stress levels are going up and up. But at the end of the day, right, we just don't give up, right?
Yeah.
We know we trust each other. And the good thing about it is that Kirk and I, we divided our business basically, right? We're under the same entity, right? And all entities, but we're just a true 50-50,
Right.
right? And it's very defined roles. You know what they are, right? I'm over acquisitions, sales, developing the sales, closing deals, and making sure these deals cut part of the TC process in the beginning. And Kirk is over dispo and TC on the back end.
Yeah.
And we have our weekly meetings every Monday. We're going through, hey, things that we need to do. But at the end of the day, we had to separate it so that we didn't have two kings in the castle,
Yeah.
right? And I have to trust that he's doing what he needs to do on the dispo side, and he has to trust what I'm doing on the acquisition side. So I think that helped so that we're not always butting heads and that we have clearly defined roles and they fit our personalities perfectly. So I'd say to anybody that's watching this, that's thinking about going in a partnership or it's in a partnership, you definitely, whether they're a friend or a family, you guys have to have clear boundaries. Who's running this side of the business? Who's running this side of the business? Obviously, you guys are going to talk about major decisions and talk about money and all these different things, but you have to feel comfortable letting that person run that side while you run that side. And that's going to, I think truly that's what's going to minimize a lot of the headbutting in the business. But if you don't have trust, obviously that will definitely sink a partnership for sure. 100%.
So like when it comes to a business, it's never black or white. You do this, I do this. It's always a gray area.
Mm-hmm.
And within that gray area, there's confusion like, hey, you're supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do this. But even when after it's defined, as entities grow and as you get progress, roles kind of change. And as you're redefining the role, how did you guys start even defining each role from the beginning?
Yeah, so our business, well, let's talk about how it started, right? I think that'll kind of help to give context, right? So West Richards property started out of my house, right? Let's second floor of my house, converted one of my bedrooms into an office space, right? That's how it started. Um, Kirk and I, we met up, we talked about what we wanted to do. We didn't put together some formal business plan,
Uh-huh.
and we started, I think, with a initial investment of $2,000. We
Oh
started
wow.
our business with $2,000, or maybe it was three. I think we contributed 1,500 and 1,500 each, and we started our business with $3,000, and that's what we started with, right? So we started off mailing out. I think we ended up doing like 1,000 mailers, and we were putting up our own bandit signs, right? So our roles were cross functioning. Let's be honest. When you're starting off,
Yeah.
everybody's got to do whatever they can. So our roles were cross functioning. But as we started growing, and we knew in order to scale this business, once it got to a certain point where deals were starting to come in more often, and they're starting to become repetitive, and it's like, okay, we're not getting a deal every quarter. We were going from, one deal our first year, and then it was a deal every 2 months, then deal every month, and then multiple deals every single month, right? But in order to do that, you have to have clearly defined roles. So um, I think what happened was, so Kirk and I, we sat down, and some of those roles just happen organically, right? I'm a small talker. Kirk is not. So
Yeah.
I can small talk with a person, be on the phone with somebody, do the sales, talk to somebody for 30 minutes or an hour. But Kirk can do that after he's built a relationship with you, right? And for Kirk's personality, I work better working with multiple different personalities, people who could be emotional and all that. Kirk, dude, he's like this. So that works better when dealing with investors, because investors are gonna be like, oh man, can you work with me and all this? In the beginning, I'd be like, yeah, I could do that. Kirk, no, it's the price. So Kirk definitely has that sergeant personality, and he's definitely a little harder than I am when it comes with dealing with people. So we just kind of knew early on that it would be better for him to deal with investors on the back end, be very straightforward dealing with investors, real estate agents, whatever, and just it's just black and white with him. And then for me, I can be that happy-go-lucky guy, emotional guy, or whatever with you, to get these deals closed. So that's just kind of how it happened, man, organically. And we started the business. Just to sum it up, we started the business. We started seeing how things worked. We were able to see what our strengths were, what our weaknesses were, and then that's when we decided, okay, I'm going to be better for the sales role, and Kirk is going to be better for the dispo role. And then from there, that's what we stuck with, and that's what we've been doing ever since.
So you mentioned about scaling. Was there any coaching or any development? Because YouTube University would get you so far. How
Absolutely.
did you level up?
Yeah. So after getting out of debt, right, I paid off all my debt. I paid off my student loans, my credit card, and my car, right? So we started this business in July of 2017. That's really when I quit working
Okay.
at the accounting firm. So I was in the business solo dolo first. Kirk was still working his job, but his job was way more flexible than working at an accounting firm. You know how it is working at the jobs we had. There's no time for entrepreneurship. Like, you're working all day. I mean, there's times I've been at the office, I'd go home, come back, I'll be in the office till 3 o'clock in the morning, right? On certain projects. But the flexibility of being an entrepreneur working there, no.
Yeah.
But he had the ability to, leave work in the middle of the day for 2, 3 hours for us to go to closing or go look at a property. I didn't have that flexibility, so I had to go all in from the beginning. So July 2017 is when I quit my job in June 15th,
Uh-huh.
I think June 1st of 2015 is when I quit. My last paycheck was on the 15th. So that's around the time we started our business. So June, July of 2017 is when we started our business. Hurricane Harvey hit in August, September, right? Perfect time, Lee. What
Wow.
the fuck? Like, great time to quit a great, cush job. You got status on the airlines, you got
Yeah.
status, whatever, and good salary, but hey man, went all in. Um, and and I had a brain fart. What was the question you had? My bad.
Uh, I also have a brain fart right now.
I'm trying
But
to see where we get to.
so you started off as you left your corporate job
Yep.
and you went back in July and you had your first deal. One of
Yeah.
the key things that we talked about is like, how did you guys scale up?
Gotcha. So scaling up. So Oh, I know what you were talking about. You were talking about, did we do coaching? So yes, the answer is question. So um, left in June, Hurricane Harvey hit in August, September. We were doing the mailers and all that good stuff. And in the same month of August, we had joined a mastermind that was locally here in Houston. I don't think
Okay.
it's in existence anymore. We did a mastermind. It went from, of course, you go to the free event, and then you
Yeah.
go to the 2 to 3 day weekend bus tour. I think that was like $400 or $500. Kirk and I did that, and then you have a dinner, and then you go to the next sales pitch, which is okay, if you got a credit card, for this offer only lasts, for
Yeah.
today. And this coaching program it started at 10 grand and went all the way up to 50, right?
Yeah.
Insane. And I was like, hell no, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And people were just putting their credit cards, right? Putting their credit cards, $50,000, $30,000, $20,000 program. And so Kirk and I actually did not make the decision then. We made
Yeah.
the decision a few days later, right? And Kirk is actually the one who convinced me to. He's like, bro, let's do it. I was like, all right,
Uh,
man, I'm trusting you. Because now you got to
yeah.
imagine, right? My mindset is I just quit. You got to imagine my mindset at this. And this is what people don't realize about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's the tough times behind closed doors that people don't see. And so I want to be very clear with you guys. I quit a very cush job. Hurricane Harvey hit in August. I had already paid off my debt, so I was debt free. Other than my home, I still had my mortgage. I was completely debt free with my consumer debt. And then Kirk comes along and is like, "Hey, let's split a 10 grand coaching program to put me $5,000 into debt." And we hadn't done any deals yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my gosh, dude!" But I trusted him. We trusted each other, and we was like, "Dude, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna get this money back." And I'll never forget one of the guys that was there, that doing it. He told us, he was like, "There's no doubt in my mind that you guys are gonna make it." Now, I don't think you guys definitely don't need to do the $50,000 program because I know you guys are gonna make it regardless. But I do think this is gonna help you fast track and get there a little bit sooner. And it's very true. Like when we did that, we learned the ins and outs of the Trek program. Like this coaching program, I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to the basics, taught us much better than when we went to get our licenses for a real estate
Yeah.
license. When it understanding the Trek, all of the addendums, ARVs,
Yeah.
marketing, negotiations, the numbers close, how to close via numbers for type A personalities, which is your doctors,
Mhm.
your CPAs, and professionals. And we used that, and then we locked up our we locked up only one deal in 2017. It was a Harvey flood, but our first deal was 40 grand,
Wow.
and it was from that coaching program. Taught us the negotiation and the numbers close, which we used to get that first contract. And shout out to some local guys here. I always got to shout out Andre King and Andy Speed with Draco
Okay.
Properties. They were the guys that actually took us under their wing when we got this property, right? They saw in us, they're like, you guys are hungry. Like, we like you guys. We wish we could find more people like you that do what we tell you to do.
Wow.
And the funny thing about them is they were part of the coaching program. They were the teachers, the instructors, but they were at the instructors for the 30,000 and up level, right? We're a little old 10,000. We just get online access and got to figure it out. But that first deal was a $40,000 deal. Kirk and I thought we could probably make 10 grand on it. We split it 50-50 with them, and we netted almost 19 grand on that. So we took that money, put it into marketing, and the rest is history. So to everybody that feel that pressure of being an entrepreneur, I'm gonna just tell you this: don't feel bad. Everybody does not have to be a business owner.
Yeah.
If working a corporate job gives you the security that you need and can allow you to reach the goals that you have set for yourself, stick to that. I'm a 100% advocate in that, because I think there's too many people out here that think that they're falling behind just because they don't own their own business and just because they're an entrepreneur. This shit is hard. I mean, imagine the mindset and the turmoil I was going through when I quit this job. Hurricane Harvey hits, and we didn't get paid. We locked up the deal in October. It didn't close until the end of November. So our bank account, we didn't make any money until our wire hit our bank account in November 30th of 2017. So I went basically 6 months with no income,
Yeah.
right? And
And
then we took a little piece. I think we took 4 grand out of like that 18, 19 grand. We took 4 grand out of that. Kirk got 2 grand. I got 2 grand. And then for the next 6 months, I didn't take anything else from any of our from the other deals we did. So think about that, guys. I left this cush job, went through Hurricane Harvey, finally got a deal, only took a little bit from it, and then I only lived off of $2,000, the $2,000 I made for an entire year after quitting my job, right? So when it talks about being a business owner and sacrifice, I think your level of success depends on how much you're willing to sacrifice. And, I'll tell anybody, if you're not willing to sacrifice, stay doing what you're doing because business is a huge sacrifice.
Yeah, one of the things I definitely want to say is like a lot of entrepreneurs fall into this trap of never paying themselves. I am myself, I'm guilty of that. I haven't paid
Yeah.
myself in a couple of years.
Yep.
Uh, with that, as I shifted over this year, any deal I close, I take off the top. This is my payment. This is my salary. And a lot of it comes down from the profit first methods. Uh, as you're growing, do you believe in that philosophy that you need to pay yourself first, then you let the business run on that budget? Because what you're really doing is you're really looking at the health of the company. When you're paying yourself, or even when you remove yourself and you put someone in and you haven't been paying yourself, guess what? Now you have a new variable coming in.
That's right.
Have
100%.
you started paying yourself every month?
Yeah, so we started paying ourselves like after that year, I
Yeah.
started getting paid, right? Because I
Yeah.
was still on full time, right? Kirk still had his main job. So the way we did it is at the time, like I got put on a base pay
Yeah.
while Kirk didn't take anything from the business because he still had his salary, his benefits. So after that first year, I started getting payments, monthly payments. And then of course, as of today, right, where we are today, Kirk and we're on salary, right? And we pay ourselves bonuses at the end of the year, right? So it's one of those things that by us paying ourselves a below average salary, it keeps us hungry,
Yeah.
right? That's the mindset I have behind it, right? Keeps us hungry. And at the end of the day, we still want our business to be successful, right? So we don't want to be taking too much away from it, but we're making enough to be able to live on, to be able to do the things that we want to do. And then at the end of the year, based on our performance, we pay ourselves a nice bonus, right? And we get rewarded for that. So, and that's something we're going to continue doing, right? Get ourselves. And the good thing about it is we can always increase our salaries. I don't think our salaries ever is going to be anything like super ridiculous, but I think as long as we can do the things that we need to do, we're good with that. Because at the end of the day, our business is our baby, right? So for me, I get the most joy just seeing my business grow. So I don't need much. I don't live a flashy lifestyle. I still try to have fun when I can. And so yeah, that's how we do it, man.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons why I really relaunched CEO Confessionals is the struggles of an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you have the highest of the highs, the lowest of the lows. Could you tell me a period of time when you had a very low point?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, just I can go through starting point and I can go through recently, man. When we started this business, kind of going back to what we said earlier, like that was hard, man. You can imagine, just me telling that story. I mean, I can laugh about it now, but that shit was hard, dude. That shit was hard because you're second guessing yourself, right? Did I make the best decision, right? I just left, even though my partner at the time, and shout out to Jared
Yeah.
if he's watching, he told me, if you ever want to come back, you can. There's a place here for you, which gave me that stamp of approval that I did what I was supposed to do. But I had to prove to myself, this was my dream, right? This was my goal. So it's up to me to reach it. And I just did not want to give up. And I think a lot of people just give up too soon, right? I don't think they give themselves enough runway to be successful. I mean, you can't get into this business and you just saying, "Oh, I only have $2,000," or just saying, "Oh, I only have a little bit of money saved, and I can only try this business out for 2 months to see if it works."
So,
Right?
so you went a period of time without making any money.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I
Wha-
was living off of my savings that I had saved. And then, so how I did it, right? 3.5 years, I paid off my debt. And then that next year and a half before I left, I was just saving, 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 saving. So I think when I left, I had saved about 25, 30 grand in my bank account, right? Obviously still have retirement and all that, but just
Yeah.
in my bank account that I could live off of, that's what I had saved. And of course I still had my credit cards, right? I had credit cards because they were already paid off. So I was using a little bit of both, cash and credit.
Yeah.
And that's what I use as runway, man. I used that until the business became self-sustainable.
So
And it took us
how did you
5 months to
feel?
get our first contract.
Yeah. How were you feeling when you went like months in, months out, you grinding, you're putting in 60, 70 hours a week,
Mhm,
daily basis,
mhm.
and zero results? What were you going mentally? What were you thinking? What were your thoughts? Did the demons come in? And what were the
Mm,
demons saying?
mm. I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think I think because with the death of my parents and other things that I've gone through, man, that's been hard enough,
Yeah.
right? I mean, my dad passed away in 2018. That was like a year after we had our business. We're about we had not quite hit a year when my dad passed away. When my mom had already passed away, right? So that alone, man, was really, really hard for me, man. I went through depression, tough times. It was hard, man, when a parent that you care about so much passes away and you see them. She had cancer, right? So you see the gradual deterioration of her body, even though her mind is there and she's telling you, hey, I'm okay, babe, I'm good, but don't worry about mom. But you see, like, hey, my mom's not here anymore. I got to figure this stuff out. And so for me, it's I don't think I ever had a demon that came in that said quit. I don't
Okay.
think I ever had that demon that says give up now, right? Because I truly believed in myself, right? I truly believe that if I worked hard enough and just gave myself enough time for success to happen, it would happen,
Yeah.
right? And so I felt like I had did what I needed to do to set myself up in terms of giving myself enough runway to be successful. Because when I had saved up enough money. When I did the calculations in terms of what I was spending and then what I had saved, I saved about enough to last me about a year. But what happened was the year mark, remember, was like June, July of the year mark would have been June, July of 2018. But when my dad passed away, my dad had a lot of things outstanding that I had to take care of. So I had to spend a lot of money taking care of his estate and just other things he had going on, right? He had real estate in Louisiana and just other things that loose strings that I had to take care of, that my sister and I had to take care of. But I was using a lot of money, so that shortened my window, right? So it was a tough time, man, and it was unexpected, right? But I had saved enough that was going to last me at least a year. But my dad's passing and the things I had to take care of shortened that. But thankfully, we had already done, the first deal, and we had done, I think, one or two other deals before he had passed away. So, man, I've struggled with some tough times. I think in this business, I've definitely been depressed. I've definitely had anxiety. I've definitely wondered,
Can you tell me a little
did
bit more about the anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, the anxiety, I think it's the anxiety of being a business owner, man. I think I have that anxiety of like when things are not working out in your favor or a lot of deals aren't coming in or you're having title issues and things are getting bottlenecked and you know, you this business is marketing dollars, right? Marketing and expenses and all this stuff. So, with everything that we're spending, I mean, we're spending 10, 15 grand a month, with everything, right? So that's a lot of money that's coming in out every month, right? So if you don't have deals consistently coming in, it doesn't take long for that money you start to see that bank account going down, right? So for me, the anxiety is, I think it's an anxiety that a lot of entrepreneurs have, and for my anxiety is, just thinking like, what if this business collapses?
Yeah.
You know, what
Absolutely.
if
I could completely relate to that.
what if this business collapses? What if I have to go back working a 9 to 5 or a 9 to whenever it's done? I've never really worked a 9 to 5. I've always worked a 9 to whenever it's done in my career. So I've always been a hard worker, but I've always wondered, like, man, what if this all fails? We've got this nice office, things are good, we got deals, but just what if everything was to fail? And I think that's always my anxiety, man. That's really where my anxiety comes is just is failure. So I think part of not wanting to fail is what pushes me every single day, to just show up,
Yeah.
right? And just lock up deals. And one of our core values, for our company is endurance. This business is all about endurance and not quitting. So, yeah, man, I've definitely had some anxiety, uh, depression of like, damn, am I good enough? If I am who I think I am,
Yeah. And
right?
that's what
Yeah,
was highlighted to me this weekend was the imposter syndrome. I think a
yeah,
lot of us entrepreneurs, we go through that.
absolutely.
Okay.
But I think for me, for imposter syndrome, I definitely can say there's some people I probably would look at and I'd be like, damn,
Yeah.
why am I not there yet? Or why haven't we gotten there yet? But at the end of the day, I think I've gotten over that pretty well. It took me some time. I'm not gonna lie. I suffered from that. It's called comparanoia. That's what I like to call it. Right? You're comparing people, and you're going paranoid, comparing yourself to all these people. Like, oh shit, they're here. I'm here. I
Yeah.
should be here because I've been in the game for a year now, and Joe Blow over here has been in the year for 6 months, and he's freaking crushing it.
Yeah.
He's on every podcast, and woe is me, right? But one thing I always like to tell people is that you have to make sure you're comparing apples to apples,
Yeah.
right? Because there's people in this business who have gotten in this business and they've seen success 6 months in, killing it, a year in, crushing it. And it may take you 2, 3 years to get there, but what you don't see is their prior experience,
Yeah.
right? Have they been in sales before? Have they built teams? Have they managed teams? Have they coached people? Have they run operations? Have they had to manage organizations?
Yeah.
All that experience and that knowledge, and you start something else, of course, it's going to put you on the fast track. So you have to just be very careful. And I'll say that to anybody getting into real estate business or any other business. And when you're looking at people that are successful or they're moving at a faster rate than you, just know that there's always another story behind it. And before you start going crazy and having that paranoia, make sure you understand the full story. Because once you understand their full story and say, like, oh shit, this guy managed a team for Enterprise Rental Car, high intensity. He was a manager. He was managing $5 million in sales at a store. He was over hiring and firing and coaching and managing these stores and all that, and managing sales and marketing and doing direct mail and doing all this stuff to bring leads in and managing leads and cold calling. And then he gets into the business. So just make sure you guys are comparing what people's prior experiences are before you start driving yourself crazy thinking that you're not where you're supposed to be. Because everybody, it takes time to become an expert in the craft. And maybe they didn't take them 4 years in real estate to get to where you want to be, but maybe it took them 4 years somewhere else. So just be careful with that. And that's definitely what I had to learn as well.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest challenges of any entrepreneur. You're always comparing yourself with other entrepreneurs.
Facts.
And that was
Facts.
excellent advice that you got. But who impacted you the most when it comes to mentorship in your current business, besides your business partner and besides your parents?
Hmm. Who's impacted me the most? Great question. Outside of my parents, outside of I'd probably say my uncles.
Okay.
Um, and I wouldn't put one above the other, but I have some great uncles who are mentors, and they've done very well in their own industries. So I've had some great men around me. Did you say no family members?
No family members.
Damn it! All right, so outside of a mentor, man, outside of a family member, that is a great freaking question. Who's inspired me the most?
Seems like I stumped you on this one.
You did, dude. I think I'm gonna try to see if I can come back to that one.
Yeah.
Um, Man, if I could think about it, someone, because man, my family members, friends, who's impacted me the most. Um, Trying to think if there was like, okay, I will say this. The, while I was working at this accounting firm, I will say this guy. He's called the CEO of Happiness. It's the book. Um, Let me see if I can look it up real quick. because I have a great story for this one, man. I just got to get his name. I don't want to mess up his name. Um, I would say this was a pivotal point in my life. Okay, so his name is Chris Gardner, right? So he was the
Yeah.
person who the Pursuit of Happiness, the story of Pursuit of Happiness, was created for. I had the awesome opportunity to meet him in person.
Awesome.
So I was working at the accounting firm, and so let me see how this happened. So the reason why I got the job at this accounting firm is because I won this scholarship. So the scholarship, I applied for the scholarship while I was in school. It included the internship. It was a $10,000 scholarship, internship with the accounting firm, and a trip to New York to receive the scholarship. And the keynote speaker was Chris Gardner.
Wow.
And it was when he first had this book, Pursuit of Happiness, when it just came out, and he had signed books for everybody. So at all the tables, everybody who won these internships, and these were students all over the U.S. that
Uh-huh.
all went to New York. We were staying at such a nice hotel. I can't think of the name of it. I don't know if it was like the Waldorf or something. They had everything. They had limos for us, rolled out the red carpet for us, and with Chris Gardner, right? I was like, man, I have to meet him, right? There's all these top students all over the world. Like, how am I going to differentiate myself, right? I'm
Yeah.
from Houston, Texas. I'm not that impressive, right? I'm just,
Yeah.
just your average guy. And so I had asked one of his assistants or something who was with him. I was like, hey, is Chris here? They're like, I think he's in the bathroom. And so I went to the bathroom. I went to the men's restroom, and I'm just washing my hands. It was the longest time I've ever washed my hands, right? Even after COVID, right? I was, washing my hands for it had to be like a couple minutes, man. So I guess he was in there doing his business. And then when he came out, he started washing his hands, and I looked over at him. I was like, "Hey, how you doing today?" He's like, "I'm doing good. I'm doing good." And I told him, I was like, "I'm looking forward to hearing you speak at the conference." And he looked at me. He was like, you can imagine, right? I'm in my 30s, right? I'm
Yeah.
33. Look how young I look, right? I
Yeah.
can't even grow a full, beard, right? This is all I got. I just got my
Yeah.
mustache, so I'm proud of it, right? It took me, a couple months to grow it, so I'm proud of this bad boy.
Puberty hit late for you.
Exactly, right? So you can imagine when I'm freaking 18 years old how young I look, right? And
Yeah.
so he looked at me. Um, he was like, "You don't even look old enough to. You're not even old enough to be here." I was like, "I am." And so we got to talk, and he asked where I was from. I think he's from Mississippi, Alabama. I told him my family's from Louisiana, small town. We got to talking, and he said, "Come with me." And he had me sit at his table. He had like three cell phones at the time. Had me watch his cell phones. He was like, "Hold these cell phones for me." And then he went to go do his keynote address. I was doing an internship with PwC.
Mhm.
He gave me an offer to intern with him in Chicago, and I didn't take it,
Uh-huh.
right? Because I was like, I was committed to PwC,
Yeah.
PwC, this accounting firm, and I'm a man of my word. I had committed to them. They did all these great things, but man, I think just that conversation and just crossing about. I actually emailed him, kept in touch with him, and we've lost contact. But obviously that internship wasn't available the following year because I wanted to take it, but unfortunately, he had kind of moved on. But man, just that experience alone, he inspired me. Just his story, just everything he had been through, all the odds were against him.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I thought outside the box to meet this guy and it worked, right? I was like, holy shit, it worked. I got to meet him, right? I got to set myself apart from everybody.
Yeah.
And he gave me an offer. He literally said, if you're not going to go work with them, you can come and intern with me in Chicago. I was blown away. I think that's the one thing I'm like, man, I'm proud of how my life has turned out thus far, but I do wonder like how life would have been different if I had taken that internship. But I don't like to live with regret, but that was a huge, huge thing for me, eye opening. And this guy multi-millionaire, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. And so I was so like just like mind blown by this guy. And I read the book, watched the movie. So I definitely would say he was definitely someone who inspired me, man.
Well, that's an awesome experience, Lee. And I'm
Yeah.
very sure in the future someone will be saying that about you.
I hope so, man. I hope
I know.
so. I
And
hope
Lee,
so.
thank you for coming to CEO Confessionals, man. And I appreciate
Absolutely.
your time. All right, guys. Till next time. Cool.